DAC, wars. What are they good for? Absolutely nothing.
I'll say it again.
See what I did there? Hi, I'm Bob. You, my friends, are back in the United States of analog. We're going to have fun again today. I'm going to bring you a product that really hasn't existed in the market before. On-the-fly switchable double DAC from Douk. It's the DAC Q11. We're just going to call it the Q11, or maybe even the Q for short. The Q11 is two
DACs in one.
We are going to break it down and show it to you. Now, this video is aimed primarily at new audiophiles beginning their journey, especially their DAC journey. But I want to warn you, you seasoned audiophiles, the product I'm going to show you may have some interest to you in a way that you don't expect. So stick around for that, because I found a lot of uses for this machine. I'm going to try to show it to you. I hope my Sony can pick up on this. I've got to get it really close. There you go. Got to cover up my face. Can you see that? Look at that. That is the Q11. Double OLED screens there, knob in the middle, metal case. Nice, very smart looking. It's got some other features, and I'll run it all down for you. So if you're just beginning this hi-fi game, I get it. DACs can be very confusing. Many people say they can hear the differences in DACs. Other people say, not so much. Some like AKM DACs, some like ESS DACs. Some don't have a preference at all. I myself have only got into DACs in recent years, and I find myself in that kind of lower to mid level of DAC. Now listen, when you hear a DAC that you don't like, you know you don't like it. But for me to tell you that an AKM DAC sounds better than an ESS DAC or vice versa, I don't know. I think in this audiophile game, selecting a DAC, choosing a DAC of your very own that you're going to live with for a long time is a trial and error process, and that's where this DAC comes in so handy, because the Q11, to my knowledge, is the first double DAC that you can switch on the fly. Now, I have another DAC headphone amp over here from Xduoo that I'm working on right now for a review, and that has modules that you can replace with a screwdriver, and that takes a little bit of time. It's a lot of fun, don't get me wrong, but it's not switchable on the fly between AKM and ESS Sabre with just the press of a remote control button. All right, that's the setup, so stick around. I've got the United States of Analog Golden Workbook again, and there's nothing more analog than pen and paper and a notebook or a workbook, as it were. This Douk Q11 comes in at somewhere between $160 and $170 US. That is a great price point for a beginner DAC, especially when you're considering you're getting two chips inside, an AKM 4493 and an ESS 9038 2QM. Which one's better? Hey, that's for you to decide. I'm going to leave it up to you. But it has a 12-volt wall wart. It's 6 inches wide, 5 inches deep if you consider the knob and the terminals, and 1 3/4 inches tall with the feet. Rather small. In fact, it's almost the exact dimensions of a Jacque J2 DAC, and I don't know if that's by accident. Also, with this DAC, you get a little see-through window, little peekaboo window there. You can check out the architecture. It's got like these bluish purple lights inside. And again, I think they've taken a design cue from Jacque Labs.
I'm only guessing.
I'm going to say the weight of the unit's just under 2 pounds.
I'm only guessing.
Again, you get two OLED displays with some type that, could be a little sharper. Could be a little sharper, but that's all right. As you're scrolling through the various gain settings, you can definitely read that from 10, 12 feet away. You're not going to see a lot of the sampling rates and things like that. That's going to be a little smaller. On the back, you have 2 sets of stereo RCA outputs, 1 and 2. Auxiliary out. You have a coax in, an optical in, and a USB in if you stream music or you have music on your computer. That's what this is for. I personally don't do that myself. I don't listen to music off of my computer in any kind of serious way. But from what I gather and from reading all the materials, you get a quite a nice heavyweight kind of instruction card here. It's many pages, and much of it is dedicated to you folks that listen on your computer. So I think in most cases, whether it be Android or Mac, you should be able to use the Q11 effectively. All right, we'll put the workbook away and talk a little bit about this DAC. I think this is very good for the person starting out, as I mentioned, because it can get very confusing, AKM versus Sabre or ESS, whatever you want to call it. One is not necessarily better than the other. The general consensus from watching other reviews and reading Reddit and things like that is a lot of audiophiles feel like the AKM is a little punchier, a little warmer than the ESS. I feel like it's kind of like the darling of the mid-fi DAC chip. That may be because the AKM chips have not been as available through the years. We've got the 4493 here. I have DACs with the 4499, which I like a lot. I tell people that I prefer the AKM. If I had to take the stand, I don't know if I could adequately describe the differences or why I have a preference, other than I do feel like it's warmer, and I have a little bit of proof, I think, later on in this show that kind of illustrates that point. ESS, for a lot of audiophiles, implies more detail, more transparency, maybe a little edgier, a little brighter. Again, those are huge generalizations, and it's not for me to tell you what you're hearing. It's for you to hear it for yourself. And that's where this little unit comes in, because there's 2 DAC chips inside. And when I plug this into my system upstairs, with 1 press or 2 presses of the remote control button, and here's the remote, just with a press of a button or 2, I'm able to switch back and forth from my listening position and hear the differences between the ES and the AKM DAC. Dogs, let them out. I'm on YouTube here. I know. I don't know why they brought... I'm kind of a big thing. Anyway, yeah, can you imagine that? You know how hard it is to A and B gear? I have to do it once in a while. It's difficult. You have to plug, you have to unplug, you got to get out cables. Sometimes this cable doesn't match that cable on that equipment, and there's different speakers and all that. Boom, you've got the remote here. You can switch between the AKM and the ESS on the fly with the same equipment. And you're talking about well under $200 for the privilege and the excitement of doing that. I think that's so cool. You know, I didn't think much about it when I got it out of the box, but now after playing around with it for a week, I kind of like this little thing. And Douk, if you're listening, if there's any way I could possibly keep this one, that would be cool, because I have lots of uses for this in my testing. Are these the best DAC chips you can buy? No. Are they good chips? Yes. You know, sometimes I think the people that hear great differences in DAC chips are the people that spend a lot of money on DACs. I guarantee you, if I drop 2 GHz on a DAC, I guarantee you I'm going to hear a big difference. You have to justify your expense. Now, I know not everybody's as flaky as me, but you know what I mean.
Am I saying too much?
I'm going to show you some numbers here, some sampling rates and things, the resolution and stuff like that. I know that's important, but again, at the end of the day, what your ears are telling you are correct for you. If you like a DAC, if it sounds good to you, great. If you don't, get rid of it and get something else. Again, that's why it's so important, especially as a beginning audiophile, to get something that's reasonable for your budget, like this Q11. So this DAC has 3 modes. Mode 1, AKM plus ESS. Come on, Bob, learn the equipment. Actually, you know what? You have to use the remote to switch the modes. And that makes sense because you'd be doing this from your seated position. Mode 2 is AKM. AKM is being fed to channel 1 and to channel 2. And then mode 3 is ESS, again going to 1 and going to 2. And this is where some of the more serious audiophiles might find the Q11 an attractive piece for their DAC collection, because I was able to connect 2 completely different systems to one DAC, and by using the remote control, not only switch DACs and compare an A and B, but also A and B, two amplifiers at the same time. Fantastic. Fantastic. I connected my Macintosh MA252 hybrid amplifier to channel 2. On channel 1, I had the Black Ice Audio F22 review coming, by the way, very soon. Speakers in the room, of course, the fabulous Klipsch Fortes, the equally fabulous Xduoo Audio, and my budget choice, my Heiko Aurora 300. Don't bother looking for them. They don't exist anymore. After my review several months ago, they sold out. You can blame me, I guess. I don't know. Heiko, get in touch with me. I want to hear more of your speakers. I think they're a great value. I was having so much fun switching on the fly from my seating position, A and B, two DAC chips, two amplifiers, two systems without even getting out of my chair. It was fantastic and a lot of cheap fun. And I commend Douk Audio for thinking of this design. Now, if I had to nitpick this little buddy, and I do, I would say initially I would like a little more gain from this box. Also, I think they could tighten up the graphics, the text, get some of these pixels out of here, make it a little more high def. How about some LED color options inside the box? That'd be nice. Do you hear me, Douk? Here's one thing I noticed in my listening. The ESS DAC I liked more on my Macintosh, because I've complained over the years that my Mac MA252 is a little too warmish. I've described it as a wet blanket. That's kind of an exaggeration, but it's warm, and the ESS kind of equalized that. Or the amp equalized the ESS chip. The AKM I preferred with the Black Ice Audio. It's all about preference. It's all about flavors.
Two flavors.
DAC wars are over. A sheer brilliant idea. Now, before I go and play around with the Q11 a little more, in fact, I'm going to try to use this as a preamp DAC between two brand new topping monoblocks I got in. These things are nice. I haven't heard them yet, but man, the build quality. I want to leave you with this warning. The DAC chip is only part of a DAC. In other words, you could have a really good DAC chip that's not implemented well, or is in the component with inferior wiring, inferior connectors, a bad analog output stage. Any number of things could deteriorate the sound. So don't get so hung up on chips that it drives you crazy. It's only part of the picture. And we know that now. I know that now. And I just wanted to impart that on you. So let's review real quick. $160 to $170. You can go to the Douk Knob Sound site. Check it out there. They have extensive information. You can get it on Amazon. I'll put a link below. And that's it. I mean, this is cool, right? It's cool. What can I say? And it's cheap, and it's fun, and it does what it's supposed to do, and then a little more. So buy it now and thank me later. Thanks for joining me once again in the United States of Analog. I hope to see you soon. And right now, the geniuses at YouTube have run the numbers, and they know that you are gonna like this video. At least 2 or 3 minutes of it. Give it a shot, because more hi-fi entertainment coming your way from a guy who really, doesn't know his head from his